Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by the returning Ryan Kruger, director of Fried Berry, the new Street Trash, and some other cool stuff we'll talk about. It's awesome to have you back.
Cool, man. Awesome to be back. As we were saying now, just before we started recording, it's been a few years, but it doesn't feel. I know we've chatted here and there, but it doesn't feel that long. It's crazy.
No, it does. Yeah, because I think it was actually during the pandemic when we had you on for Fried Berry, or right around then, anyway. Which does seem like another world.
It's. You know what I always say, like everybody just puts the pandemic like at the back of their mind. Nobody wants to like think about it. But every now and then I'm like, fuck, I'll sit in my garden and I'm like, shit, man, I remember not being able to like leave and just chilling in your garden every day. And I'm like, shit, man, it was crazy times.
Yeah, I always catch myself. I'm like, oh, it sucked. I couldn't go to festivals. And then I'm like, well, I realized people had it a lot worse and they couldn't go to festivals and stuff. But it's a very bizarre time.
Yeah. I mean, I had a garden. I was lucky to even have a garden to sit in.
Yeah. Yeah. I live in a small town, so I was able to just roam around because there's no one else around. So that was good. But if I was in a city and I really just had to stay inside, it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But when Fried Berry came out, not just you hear it, like I thought it was amazing. Trista Robinson was on the show then, who I still talk to, but after the pandemic, she's a working actor, so it became harder for her to do the show. And both of us loved it. I think it was Fantasia. It played a lot of places, but we both loved the movie. I still talk about it, and it's really cool to see you, go on to do another movie and doing some other cool stuff.
Yeah, I think, Fried Berry will always be like super special to me from where I was before I made Fried Berry, and not just because it's my first film. So it'll always be a special film to me. And, every now and then, well, it was last year Halloween. So probably on Halloween, I watch Fried Berry again. And I hadn't seen it since last Halloween. And I sat there and we screened it at the South African Horror Fest. And I sat there and I watched it, and I was only going to watch 10 minutes and then just duck out. And I ended up sitting there really, really enjoying it because I hadn't watched it for like over a year. And I was like, I love this film. It's really, it's really fun. And I'm just so proud of my cast and my crew and everybody that was involved, and Hazer doing the music. It's just it's a cool film. It's special. And, I also never forget, once I finished that film, and it was before the pandemic, I just remember as soon as the pandemic hit, I remember saying like, oh shit, I've just done my first fucking movie and now the pandemic's happening and my film's going to go down the drain and nobody's going to see it. And it was completely the opposite. More people got to see it because, some of the festivals, some of the festivals were happening in person, and then some of them they were online. So instead of like 350, 250 people seeing it in a cinema or more, because it was online, it ended up being like 4,000 people in some festivals, and it just blew up. So, and every now and then, I check on like Twitter and Facebook and see who's talking about it. And there's literally not 1 month that goes by that people don't talk about that film, which is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. It made me I know you a little bit. It's not like we hang out or something, but it made me proud. Like I was like, we love the movie. You were really cool when we had you on, and like to see it do so well. It's like, oh, that's cool. So,
yeah.
So, and by the way, when you said you watch it like every Halloween, as time goes on, is it easier to? Because I assume when you first make it, when you watch it, you don't really see it as a movie. It's at that point, it's like the memory making it, editing it. And as time goes on, can you just kind of like, oh, I can watch this as a movie now?
Yeah, well, there's two ways I look at it every time I watch it. So when I didn't watch it for a hell of a long time, it was cool, like you said, now just to sit back and just not pick at it and just watch it and sit there and enjoy it. but I still can't help. I can relax more and watch it, and it is what it is. But there's always those things. It's like with any project that I do. There's those little things that I look at it and go, "Oh, I wish I just cut a little bit earlier," or "I wish I just tightened this a little bit up." But I mean, I think that's normal. I think that's normal to do that. But I sat there and it was cool. Like I said, I was going to duck out, and I was like, okay, I just want to see this bit, and then it was like, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, I can understand because I like to make about me or whatever, but you made Once a Future Smash End Zone 2, which you were awesome to play at in South Africa at a film festival, and watching them with an audience for the first time, it was nerve-wracking. I was like, oh, this, like, what did I do? Did I just waste years of my life or something? But and then recently is like a year or two ago, it was the VHS release of End Zone 2, and I started to watch it to like critique it, like for whatever, and I just sat back and watched it, and I was like, oh, this is cool to watch, and I just kind of watch it as a movie.
Yeah, that's good. I think if you do good work and you're good at what you do and you work with great people and you admire them, it's never just your work. It's everybody's work. So when you watch it, you're watching everybody's work. And I love the movies that I make because it's not just my movie; it's everybody else that I admire. So it's it's not about being stuck up my own arse going, yeah, brilliant movie and all this. It's like it's watching it and
man,
going,
the director here is fantastic.
It's the music and it's this and it's wardrobe or it's characters or whatever. There's all those there's all those things. Yeah.
So Street Trash. As soon as I heard about Street Trash, because I love the original, I was like, wow, they're making a new Street. That's interesting. And then when I knew you were involved, I was like, well, I really like your stuff. And then when I started to see like pictures, like, oh, I think this is gonna be cool. And when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, I really loved it. Not just because you're here. Like this is a wild movie.
Cool, man. Yeah, you see, the thing is with Street Trash, I was after Joe Bob's Last Drive-In played Fry Barry. The two producers from the US, Justin and Matt, they contacted me and they had the rights for Street Trash. And a lot of people was mentioning my name. It came up like so many times. It was crazy. And I didn't think anything of it because I was just saw on the Twitter feed people talking and said I would make a good fit for a director to do Street Trash. But I thought nothing of it. I thought it was, people were just saying it. And then, they approached me and they said, would you like to make Street Trash? And for me, I was always that, I was always a fan of the original film. I watched it as a kid late at night, in my bedroom with a little TV, or, I had it on VHS. So it was a film that I watched when I was younger, and I remember it, and I hadn't watched it for many years, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to watch it again. But, it was like, it was probably about 10 years since I last watched it. So I watched it again. And and it's just a cool film. But straight away, I said, I don't want to make a remake. I'd rather make like a loose sequel, do my own thing, play homage to the film, give the original film a nod and stuff. And I think people that watch the movie, they can see that I was, a fan of the original film. And it's more of a loose sequel. We mentioned the first movie in this movie, and and originally when we were in pre-prod, the producers asked me, do you want to shoot it on film? So straight away, as a director, I'm like, fuck, let's do 35. That'll be amazing. Yeah. And I didn't think it would happen. And Vinegar Syndrome got on board and stuff like that. And the longer I sat there after that conversation at the table, I just thought, fuck, this is going to be hard to like shoot it on film. We haven't got telecine here. We can't develop it and this and this. But it ran pretty smooth. And the crazy thing about it was that we would shoot like 4 days, send the footage over to Pinewood Studios. They would develop it, digitally, they would develop it and then digitally send it back to us. And only then, after that first week, we would see what the fuck we shot, which was
Yeah.
which was
Completely
crazy.
different. Yeah.
So so when when I was thinking about doing it on film after that conversation, I was also like, maybe we should shoot it digital as well, just in case. And obviously that's stupid, but I can't. You can't help thinking, what if it doesn't come out? What if you do a big melt and an explosion or whatever, or a stunt, and then you get the footage back and it's just not there? That money is gone if that happens. And I think it's great to shoot on film. It was a lot easier than I thought. Than I thought to shoot on 35, and we did have the playback and stuff, which records it digitally. But I did shoot on film like many years ago, but it was like 2 short films, and we didn't even have a monitor or anything. But yeah, it ran like super smooth, and yeah, I never thought I would shoot a movie on 35. So it's pretty.
Yeah. So
that's pretty.
Obviously the plus, it looks great, and so there's a lot of pressure. Like you said, we gotta make sure we get these right. So I think in a way that's a negative, but it's also probably a plus, because you're always prepared when you're filming something, but you gotta we have to make sure this is right.
Yeah, I mean, I always say like pre-prod is king. To do all the pre-prod and stuff like that. But I also think I'm a good director to shoot on film, in the sense of I'm not going to overshoot. Like, I never overshoot. I think there's a lot of directors, that will set up a scene and will just shoot the shit out of it, and it's too much. Like, sometimes, you don't have to overcomplicate stuff. Sometimes you can have 2 people sitting at a table. It doesn't mean you need 5 angles for that. You know what I mean? So I think, like, when I was shooting, I shoot for the edit. So I don't shoot anything that I know I'm not going to use.
Do you do your own editing?
No, I sit with my editor, but I'm literally editing in my head as I go along. So I know what will cut, I know what won't cut. So yeah, I don't shoot stuff that I know I'm not going to use. And sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate stuff. Sometimes it's like, this is the scene, and this is it. This is all we need. Yeah. So yeah, it really, I just know, I know what I want. So I'm not going to overshoot. I'll get what I want. And in that sense, without burning through like loads of film, it's a good thing. So, so in that sense, I thought I was a good director, in the sense of not overshooting on film.
I think that connects it to the first one too, since you're doing like the in-camera effects, because that just makes it feel like it's from that same world. It's like practical effects, and it's there.
Yeah,
there might be some enhanced stuff, but.
No, absolutely. It just gave it more that like 80s look and feel, and and again, like you said, now with it was very important for me that obviously all the prosthetics was in camera, and that's the things that go back to that 80s vibe. I always say, like, in the 80s it was like 80% in camera, 20% visual effects, on certain like films. But now it's like it's the other way around now. So it is always cool to do prosthetics in camera, and never thought I would do that many prosthetics in a movie. So it was a hell of a lot of fun. I think anybody that I said this about Fry Barry, but I think anybody watches this film as well can see that we just had like a really good time. Like making the film, and there was a hell of a lot of people that was on Fry Barry that was on board in this film, which was cool.
Yeah, because I always love street trash, like you were saying. So as a kid, I liked it because of because of just watching it. But when I watch it, like as an adult, like it's a really well made movie. Like it's very cinematic, and I like that almost everything's like bright. So like there's not stuff hidden in the shade, and I think you did a good job kind of matching like it would be in this universe.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is, I mean, as you know, there's a lot of like horror films and these type of movies out there where the prosthetics is good and everything else is shit. Like either the acting shit, the story shit, but the prosthetics is good, or you may have the odd good actor and the prosthetic shit, but it's funny because it's shit. So you have those like mixtures of stuff. So my big thing was, like when I look at the original Street Trash, obviously it's a very loose story. It's not it's a very loose narrative, and you kind of follow a few characters around. So with any film that I make and with characters and stuff, my main thing was, even before the melts, it was like strong story, strong concept, strong characters that you go on this journey with, that you enjoy and you like and go on the journey.
That's actually a big difference between the first one. I love the first one, but no one's particularly likable. There's a lot of very likable people in yours.
There's some fun characters in the original, but there's no one that you can like relate to or be like, oh, this guy's cool. I want him to win. So I think, with my ragtag gang, they're all they're not bad guys, but they're all like drug addicts, but they're the good guys.
Yeah.
And, it was important for me to have that strong story, have those strong characters, have strong melts. But even if the melts weren't in the movie, the film would still stand strong. And, be a strong characters and strong story. So, so that was very like important to me to have those elements. And I mean, you got to, if you're going to go on this journey, if you're going to go on the journey with all these characters, you got to like, enjoy them and like
if someone melts, that's cool to watch. But if you actually are into the character, you like the character, it makes it much more rewarding as a film watcher.
So the people that haven't seen Street Trash, I don't want to do a spoiler, but there's that one character which I think you might know who I'm talking about, and he's in the gang. But when that guy dies unexpectedly, it's like you feel something. You're like, oh no, you don't want this guy to die. And while I was writing the film, it was very much, when I got to that bit in the script, I was like, shit, man, one of them has to go, and it has to be somebody that you care for,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the right decision, even though I would have liked that character to survive and go on, but at the same time, like it had to happen. It made it better because of that, with the audience.
So Gary Green from Fried Berries back as 2-Bit. Is there? I'm sure people have like their own idea. Is he Fried Berry, or is he his own guy, or is it just left up to whatever you want to think?
Yeah. So, when I'm writing, I think there's a lot of stuff that I pre-think stuff like earlier ahead, and even in Fried Barry, there's Sean Cameron Michaels' character, who's the lead in Street Trash, but in Fried Barry in the Mental Institute, there's he thinks he's a time traveler and this, which goes back to a short film that I made where he's playing the same character. So there's a whole like kind of Krugerverse going on.
I love it
in this thing. So I've done that in Fried Barry a lot with some characters, and then the same thing with Street Trash. There was characters in there. If you watch it, there is a few characters that's playing the same characters. And again, Sean Cameron Michaels' character, Ronald, in this is the same character in Fried Barry. So it can just be like later on and before. And the whole thing with 2-Bit, I gave him that nickname because it's also not a real name. So it's like a nickname.
Yeah,
so
it's not Steve or something. Right? Yeah.
It could be Fried Barry just later on. And what also goes into that character is that, he can see his imaginary friend, which is really not his imaginary friend, because it's, he thinks only he can see him, but later on the other character can. And he's like this little alien, which kind of goes back to Fried Barry in a way with the abduction. So it's there. It's more about what you guys think and less about what I think. But it is kind of there, that setup, and that's why he has like a nickname and so on.
When you're creating that character, Sokol, like, do you put all that together right away, or is it like well, it'd be cool if he had like this imaginary dude, and then you start to think about like, well, we'll have this little connection that you could read more into.
So originally, when I was writing the script, so originally, 2-Bit was Fry Barry in a sense of it could be just later on without saying it in the script, but it's there. But then he had this imaginary friend, but in the first like 1 or 2 drafts, Sokol wasn't even in it. He was reacting to talking to somebody, but that was it.
You just
And it
didn't
was
see it.
only
Yeah.
after the second draft, then I was like, actually, wouldn't it be funny if there was a person actually there that we actually see, but only he can see, and then later on, one of the other guys see. So that actually only came like later on, and I thought there was I thought it was a cool idea to do that, but also what is great, as I've mentioned before, working with Gary Green and not being a trained actor, and I have to work with him very closely. I just thought it would be cool to have that duo team where I
On a
work with them.
practical level, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just because of Gary's reacting to him all the time and stuff like that. So it just got me to work with him a little bit closer on certain things. And I did the voice for Sokol as well. So I got to work with Gary a bit closer to get again exactly what I wanted, because it takes a bit of time sometimes.
Yeah, but there's no denying that Gary has like a ton of charisma and presence on camera.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, listen, like this is why I love working with Gary. He's just, again, he's got that look. He's got a great look. He's got great presence, and yeah, and that's why I work with him. And he's he's a very, very good friend of mine, and I have the time and patience. Sometimes it takes a fucking long time, but I've got that patience for him where we'll rehearse like a million times beforehand, months coming towards a shoot. And then on set, I always say it's like a 3-step process. It's rehearsing and going through the character with them like long before the shoot. And then stuff will always change on the shoots, and that's working with them again. And then there's the editing. So when I'm shooting, I shoot like in Fry Barry, there's certain things I shoot for reaction shots and stuff to his face. And then normally I'm on the other side of the camera going, okay, pull this face, pull that face, and so on. And then, so when it comes to editing, that's like the 3rd step where I can make him look better, and I can make him look more that he's hitting the beats and stuff like that. But Gary's amazing. Like he always gives, as I always say, he always gives like 120%. I said to him the one day, because I think sometimes he thinks people are against him and stuff like that, or they just don't understand him. And I'm like, dude, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't be fucking using you in all my fucking movies. Like I'm actually your number one fan. I'm actually your number one fan. That's why you're in my movies. I've got the patience for him. I know in the real world with big budgets and big TV series, time is money, and they haven't got that time to spend with somebody, like a non-trained actor to get what they want. You know what I mean? And I've got the time for Gary when I shoot. So, it's a process, but it's cool. And we enjoy working with each other, and we always get what we want in the end. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. So coming up with the voice, like, how did you prepare for that? For Sokol?
You know what? I think I've only ever done like one. I think I only ever done some like voice work like once for like a commercial. I don't even think they fucking used it in the end. And then I did some voiceover stuff that's not out yet for a Fry Barry cartoon that I've been trying to finish. Apart from that, that's all I've ever done. And then I just thought it would be awesome to do the voice, to work with Gary, work closer with him. And yeah, I don't know what happened. I think we were just reading it, and I just imagined this character. When I was designing the Sokol, I'm like, it's almost as if, like Fry Barry had sex with an avatar and gave birth to like I don't know, Danny DeVito, and then he had sex with somebody else, and Sokol came out.
Yeah.
So, and
What's
then
the
it was
plot
like,
for your next movie? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then what would that voice be? And then, yeah, it was, yeah, and I think there was a kind of, what's his name, Guilford Godfrey. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there
My
was a bit of
brother is
that.
here. He does a great Gilbert impression. But.
Yeah, so yeah, there was a bit of that in there, a mixture of other stuff, but yeah, that was fun, and everything. All the voices were recorded. We did it on set. I wanted to do it on set. I didn't want to do it in studio. I wanted it to be there reacting with stuff. But while I was on set and we were doing that and doing that voice, like at the end of the day, my voice was just breaking. Like at the end of the day, it was it was like losing my voice at the end of each day when I had to do Sokol, because it was just again and again and again.
So were you doing it on like set with Gary? Or
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah. So
okay.
I wanted to record everything on set.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it in studio. So it was literally, um,
Probably good for the interaction.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there was a bit of improv on my side here and there with some of the dialogue, reading it, and then it's also getting the puppet movement right and cutting back to whoever. So it has to get that those exact kind of beats, or we can shift it a bit in post.
Yeah. How hands-on are you for the look of Sokol?
Yeah, I was very hands-on. That I literally, it's so funny. There's literally a picture I drew of Sokol, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of want him to look like this. And I had all those things in mind that I was talking about now, those characters and Danny DeVito and as if Gary fucked Avatar and all this stuff. And this, it was a mixture of all of that. But I literally drew this picture. I'll show you sometime. It's a terrible picture, but I gave that to the prosthetics guys, and they made him like that, and it was cool. It's literally looks like my picture, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Who has the puppet now? Did you get to keep it, or do they have it? Or
Yeah, the prosthetics guys have got it, but I've got to actually, I've got to go pick it up.
cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I need him. I need him in my living room. But
Yeah,
I think
of
we've got to
course.
take the animatronics out. Yeah, and then I'll have him sitting in my living room, scaring people.
Yeah. So the melting scenes are great, and so there's also like a lot of bubbles in them, which kind of made me think of Toxic Avenger when Melvin turns into a Toxie. But even just thinking of how you're going to do them, how they're going to look, like what's like the process there? Like you can't just these guys melt.
Yeah, I mean, in pre-prod, we had ideas already in the script, and then sometimes I would say to the prosthetic guys, can we do this, or can we do that, or maybe we got a new idea, can we do this? And it's really just prep time. And I think they were just coming off, the prosthetics guys, they were just coming off another movie or something, and so it was tight. It was tight on building prosthetics, and then and having the time to they were still building stuff while we were shooting, which was quite crazy. So I think I'm very happy with all the prosthetics. Again, like I say, I look back on anything that I do, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could tweak this, or I wish I could tweak that, or I wish we had more time. And it's always time. It's always doing prosthetics and resetting prosthetics and stuff. It all takes time. And budget and stuff like that. It's all those things. I think it would have been cool to do, like, even if it was just like 2 or 3 more detailed prosthetics, whether it's eyes coming out or whatever, or stuff through the mouth. That it would have been, that would have been awesome. But it's time consuming. It's building time and all that. But I'm very happy with how everything came out, and it has its own cool little 80s vibe look.
100%,
yeah.
Yeah, and I like that everyone has their distinct color of ooze. Like,
Yeah, and that was that was the other very important thing. Obviously, doing a street trash movie is to have that DNA. They have that DNA from the original, where you have these multicolored, goo and stuff like that. It had to be in there. So, yeah, and when we were shooting the melts, it was also winter in Cape Town, and it gets fucking cold. So while we were shooting some of these melts at night and stuff, it was pretty fucking cold. So those actors that had all these pipes here coming out and prosthetics and leaking goo after we take a shot, they were freezing. They were like, it was funny beforehand. They were like, oh yeah, I would love it. I want to melt. I want to die on set. That'll be great. All right, cool. Yeah, let's do it. And then during filming, they're like, how long's left? How many shots have we got left? Or this. I'm like, we're nearly there. We've still got about 10 more shots left. And it was
just a few more hours.
Yeah. So it was the process. And, a lot of the time I would get on the cold concrete floor with the actors and keep them going so we can get what we need. And, but everybody was great. Everybody was great, but it was cold and it was pretty hardcore. And some of the, the prosthetics was a lot of prosthetics that they would come in and get prosthetics done for like, I think it was like fucking 8 hours or some shit like that, just to, to preset, pre-call in the morning and get there and all the top ups. So a lot of them were in prosthetics till until we finished shooting, which was like a hell, over 16 hours or some shit like that. So yeah, it's crazy.
Any scenes that you're shooting that kind of gross you out while you're doing the movie?
I think I think it's funny when people say that. I think I have my favorite melts or bits or moments and stuff. Nothing really fucking grosses me out. Really, it's funny how it's like when somebody says, what's a scary movie, and I'm like when I was a kid, there was all these films that were maybe scary or something, but I fucking loved them and I just wanted to watch them.
Yeah, I'm with you
100%. Yeah, there was those certain scenes in like movies, where you either get traumatized or whatever, whether it's whether it's the dude from like Poltergeist 2 at the at the door, or there was all the there's all these like little scenes of movie that
the
was like
tall
small
man in the
scenes
original Phantasm always got to me for some reason. So.
Yeah. And then so prosthetics and stuff, it doesn't what's scary to me, like doing all prosthetics is fucking cool and fun and nothing like grosses me out. What fucking grosses me out is when I'm scrolling through fucking Instagram TV or whatever and I come across like people breaking bones and legs, whether they're skateboarding or some random shit. Like that fucking shit is scary and goes through me. And I'm just like, I can't fucking watch it. It's like, it's gross.
I will say, like often people say, oh, this new horror movie, it didn't scare. And I do think, like, I'm not a tough guy or anything, but it's like, I mean, I've watched horror movies my whole life. If a movie had to actually scare me to like it, like I wouldn't have liked the movie since I was like 6 or something. Like, I mean, if you're watching horror movies your whole life, you probably aren't really getting scared anymore, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. We like, I remember like going to my grand's house and I would stay over the weekend and I must have been like, I don't know, like fucking 11 or 12 or some shit like that. And my cousin, which was 2 years younger than me, and his mom and dad was like really strict. So he wasn't allowed to watch like fucking anything. So me and my brother, we would have to pretend to fall asleep. So he would fall asleep. And then we would be watching like Terminator 1 and Aliens and Fly and all that. But yeah. So those films are awesome. And then I remember getting grounded because I showed my cousin Fire in the Sky, the abduction scene, which was fucking scary.
Like you're saying, bits of movies, like that's a really cool bit.
Yeah. So that bit with the the alien prosthetics and shit, that like freaked me out. That was scary. It was like, fuck, this is cool, but like it's fucking scary. And so I think I remember getting grounded because I literally made my cousin watch that scene, and then his mom and dad found out, which they weren't too happy at the time.
What do your family think today of you making horror movies or movies in general?
So when I did, it's funny, like when I did the screening for Street Trash at Prince Charles Cinema, which was always been a bucket list to like play at Prince Charles Cinema, so that was fucking awesome. My mum came to watch, and she sat next to me. We're at the front row, and it's funny how even though I saw Street Trash so many times, editing and everything, I sat there and it's like I watched the film for the first time again. When you're sitting next to your mother, you realize all the shit that's in there, all the swearing and stuff. And I was like, and what I didn't know, and I can't help it now every time I fucking watch it, is, and I don't know why it's in there, but there's so much swearing in Street Trash. Like nearly every line's fuck this, fuck that. And while I was making it and editing it, I didn't even think about it. But when I sat there next to my mom, I was like, there was other stuff. I'm sure she was like, why has Ryan done this scene or that scene? But it was literally, I think it was literally like the swearing. It was literally all the swearing. I was just like, shit, but my mom enjoyed it. She really enjoyed it. And, and then, my dad really enjoyed like Fry Barry and stuff. And he enjoyed Street Trash. So yeah, they're very, they're very supportive and stuff. But it was funny, like before I made Street Trash and my dad saw Fry Barry and other stuff, he goes, Ryan, you've got to start making films with like Dixon and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do other films, but I'm busy on a film now. And he goes, what are you shooting now? And I'm like, well, I'm shooting Alien Dick. It's the experimental film that I was shooting at the time. Yeah. So it's like, oh, Ryan. So yeah,
which we played at Severed Limbs, our short horror film festival. So
yeah. Again, thanks very much.
Of course, no.
And I'm going to start releasing those now as well. So again, like RIP Experimental Collection has literally only releasing them now. Fry Barry the short was made in 2017, and that's the only one that's out. All the rest have been to festivals, but is not online. Mm-hmm. So it's been like literally like an 8-year project, and only now I'm starting to release them, which is awesome because I started before Fry Barry. I shot some in between Fry Barry, and then I shot some after Fry Barry, and then I got busy with Street Trash. So it's always, it's been an 8-year project. I can't believe it's been 8 years, and it's some great work. Some like
really cool. The ones I've seen, I loved. I think they're amazing. I really like your stuff, and I want to tell you this. So a few weeks ago, I was in a movie, and the director came to me. I'm friends with him, AJ Cutler, and he told me that he loves he likes you. He really loves your work. And he told me that he actually watches the trailer for RAP that we have on Without Your Head. And he watches it like all the time for inspiration because he thinks it's cut so well as a trailer. He loves the look and everything of it. And so actually before I talked to you, I asked him, do you mind if I tell you this like on the show? Because he told me, I don't know if he wants me, telling you on the show or whatever. And he's like, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So, that's cool. That's really good. That's really nice of him.
Yeah. So he's it inspires him a lot to like make something cool.
Yeah. No, it's always.
This is his first feature film that we worked on. So that was
cool. Oh, awesome. So how was it? How was it? I'm going to interview you now. So how was it? How was it doing the movie?
Oh, I honestly, AJ, a great director. I think he really elevated what was on the script. I've been part of the movie for a couple years, like on the script level. I didn't write it, but like I've been attached to it as one of the characters. And then AJ got involved. I was like, oh, I think this movie's actually going to happen now. And so I met AJ on End Zone 2. We became friends right away, similar sense of humor. And it was just like special to me to be on this guy's first movie, his first, feature film.
That's
and
awesome.
Bill Whedon, I really like. But just as the movie, he filmed some great stuff. He really elevated everything that I think is in the script. And the script had a lot of heart and stuff. But he really made it his own. And the first day was actually a really big scene with my character. And I knew it went well, and I'm usually pretty hard on myself. Think I'm terrible, but I was like, oh, I think that went well. And then Jimmy, who's the DP, is like, dude, look at, and he flipped around and showed me. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. And so I was on all 12 days, and so many really cool shots, not just stuff I'm in. Everything looks wild. And
That's
I really
awesome, man.
made something. Now, there was a lot of 16-hour days and stuff were hectic and scripts completely
But that's
changed.
cool, man. That's all
But
a part of it. It's
yeah, the
only when
stuff
it's finished you're like, "Oh, I miss it, and I wish I was back on set, and it was
100%,
so cool."
100%. Yeah.
And that's the thing, you're having fun. It's only afterwards when you're like, "Oh, man, I wish I was back on set again. Shit, when's the next time I'm gonna do this for this long?" So,
Yeah, I don't know if I blame him or thank him, but it's the first time I really felt like an actor, and I was like, "Nah, I think I'm hooked into doing more stuff." And yeah,
yeah, man.
it was really a great experience, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think really, I think it's something special that we all made. So he's an editor by trade, so he was actually shooting stuff, knowing how he's going to edit it in his mind.
Oh,
So I
that's
think that
that's
helps a
cool. That
lot.
helps a lot, yeah.
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 So yeah, I'm really looking forward, and thank you for asking me to. I am
Cool.
looking forward.
So when will that film come out, or how far is it with post now? And
Yeah, so we just shot principal photography like last week was a wrap. I do think they're going to film some more stuff to add to it, including me, which I'm excited about. But
well,
but
there you
I
go.
I think the
You
idea
got your
is
days back again.
yeah, yeah. We actually went and rescued the glasses that I wear in the movie because we left them in this warehouse we filmed in, and we're like, oh shit, we got to go get the glasses, and we found them. And
Okay, that's
so I think the plan is either the end of this year at the earliest, but I would assume probably next year. I think early next year.
okay. So what was your character? What were you doing? Or
So
can't
I'm
you talk about it too much, or it's
Yeah,
still
no, I
early?
could talk about that. So I'm Truett, who's the main villain in the movie. So it was a much bigger role than usually I'm, like a small role and stuff, which is fine. That's fun. I'm not a trained actor either, but this one I really prepared for.
So
But
did you
anyways,
stress? Did you stress a lot beforehand and stuff, or
you
were you
know what?
nervous?
Once I really, because I walk a lot and I probably look crazy if people see me because I kind of talk to myself. Like this is how I've been writing a script too. I write out in my head and then I stop and I'll act out all the characters on
Yeah.
my phone and send myself voice messages. But once I came up with the character, like how I was going to play him, the voice, and then the mannerisms, and then I think from there, like once I got that down, like I was really confident in it. It was the most confident I've been as an actor going in.
That's
So
good. You know what I always find on like indie movies, which is really cool, is that as an actor, I've been an actor on set for big TV series and movies, but small parts. And I get nervous. And I get nervous still for indie stuff. But what I've noticed is when you got a great team, whether it's the director and the cameraman and just the
yeah, Jimmy the
actors,
DP was great. Yeah.
yeah, and when you have that good relationship with the director and the DP and just other people, it just becomes there's so much shit that you just throw out the window that you don't need to stress about, and you're just comfortable to go. Let me do it again. I can do it better. And you get into it more, and it becomes way more fun. Just
Yeah, it
just
was
having those things, it becomes way more fun, and you're doing a bigger role now, and it's fine. It's cool because you have this trust and
the
this
most
like
nervous I was is remembering the lines, I have to say. I think I had the character down, but I had to, and then a lot of stuff got changed, which was a little more hectic. But and something I always heard in interviews, or if I interview someone, like, oh, if you work with a veteran actor, like they elevate you. And sometimes I'd kind of roll my eyes, but I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But so a big scene with Bill Whedon, who's a veteran actor, and I totally understand that now if anyone ever says it, because I was like, we're looking each other's eyes, and this is like, it's either like I'm just gonna just turn this to shit, or am I gonna elevate and be on his level? And like, I
That's
really felt
why,
good.
so I love improv. So the thing is, if you forget your lines, it's all right. It's all right. If you know the scene, you know what's happening, you know how the scene's meant to end and blah, blah, blah. If you know that, then you can have fun with it because you know the vibe of the scene, you know what's meant to happen or whatever. So, and that's where like I think magic comes from and happens there. With a lot of big TV series and stuff, the writer's always hectic. It's always like word for word, and you got to do everything word for word. Sometimes it's like that with big films as well. And depending on the director, you can move around a little bit and stuff like that. But I've been on sets where I'm in the makeup chair or I'm in my trailer, and they go, "Here you go, it's been updated," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like, it's fucking took me so fucking long to learn this, and now I've got to change it. That is a nightmare for me. One, I'm dyslexic, and it takes me a while to learn stuff. I can learn all the stuff, but it just takes me a little bit longer, and that's petrifying. And luckily, I pulled it off. But there was a series I did called The Power. So I did Tony Collette was in it, and a few other people. They shot here and they shot in a few other places. But I was playing this Russian gangster with these only a small part, and I had these tattoos on my face and my hands and stuff. And I had a few lines, but I was speaking in Russian. And speaking in Russian is fucking hard to pronounce everything right and shit. It's like it took me a while just to learn a few lines, just to get it down. I got into that makeup chair in the morning, and in an hour and a half, I was going to be on set, or less than an hour and a half. And the AD comes in and goes, "There you go. We've added they added I think it was 6 lines or something like that." And I'm literally on set in the next hour, and I'm like, that is impossible for me to learn Russian and those fucking lines in an hour. It's impossible. It's fucking impossible. Yeah. And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, what the fuck am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I stressed so much. And then straight away I was like, without sounding like a fucking dick and a diva, I was like, listen, please tell the director that it's impossible for me to fucking learn this in that amount of time in Russian and pronounce it, to do it right and to do my job properly. That's going to be good. I said, I just can't do it. But what I can do for you is do it in a Russian accent, but in English. I can do that for you. And then they were like, cool. And then we ended up doing that. But yeah, when that AD came to me with the new sides, I was like, this is fucking impossible. But I think it's good to be honest, and I think it's good to be able to do your job properly. You need prep time, and you need. I know it's a part of the industry; it does happen all the time. But I think maybe I'm moaning more because I'm dyslexic, and it takes me time to do, to learn lines. So, yeah, it's horrible.
I didn't say what the Truett. He's a mob boss, a drug lord, and he controls the city. He has a group of punks that run the city, kind of an 80s kind of deal with very 80s, like all these punks run the city. And the movie's about Funk, who's I think he's 85 or something, and it's like a vigilante movie, but an old man vigilante who wants to get the street. So
cool, man. I'm keen to watch it. Yeah, you must. Yeah, I'm sure you'll post the trailer when it's up.
Yeah. I think that he wants to do a trailer pretty soon. Because
I'm sure he's pretty excited to get some.
Yeah. So so I'm glad we talked about him here. That's enough to talk about you, AJ. No. But RIP, I am excited about this because I think I've seen most of them, maybe not all of them. I think they're wild. And so what's the game plan? Like you said, you're going to post one a week. So
I'm just
each one's a different length, I guess.
Yeah. So they're all under 10 minutes, some are under 5 minutes. And it's all, none of them are connected. It's all, very loose and experimental vibe, and very dreamy and arty. Very sound orientated. And they all have, this edgy feel to it. And at the time when I did these films, I just wanted to be super creative and not have to listen to a music label when I was doing music videos or managers and all that. So I could just do whatever the fuck I wanted. And there was some really cool creative stuff that I shot over that time. So I'm just happy to release it. So not so long ago, I had the trailer out, and now I was meant to release in January, and things just got busy with a lot of other things. So only now I'm going to start releasing one a week. I did say this a while ago, but it is going to be like one a week from now. Starting with Fried Barry, which is out already, but just to do that
to
push.
kind of kick it off.
Yeah, and so in like 6 weeks, all of them will be out, and I'm also just happy just to get them out and put it on my website and just get it.
They'll be embedded on the Without Your Head website.
Cool.
Yeah, that's wild. So, you said a lot of those played at festivals, and obviously, Fried Barry really took off at festivals. And I know you helped run the one in South Africa. So, how important are festivals, in your opinion, to like an independent filmmaker?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fried Barry shows a lot there. For the festival runs it did. We played all over the world. I wish Street Trash played more festival, because we had the world premiere at the New Beverly at Tarantino Cinema.
That's
on 35, which was awesome, and I'll never forget that. That's awesome. But I think we were delayed in time with a few things, and there was like 2 festivals that we didn't get into because they saw like a rough cut, which wasn't even the final draft of the film, but I think the producers wanted to push it more, and I said wait, and so I think there was a little bit of damage there that we had to do some control over, and but I mean, we had the amazing world premiere at the New Beverly and stuff, but and then we got into Rotterdam Film Festival, which is a really big festival. We played festivals in Germany. Obviously, we had the selected cinema release in the UK and a lot in the US. But yeah, festivals are super important to build that audience. I really wish we did more festivals before it coming out, but it's also, again, when you're making films and you have certain people attached to it, whether it's Screenbox or whoever, they have a release date.
Yeah.
They have that release date where they want to release it. And Screenbox has been amazing to work with and stuff. But yeah, festivals are very important to build that audience, for people to watch the film, to bring that hype and publicity before it comes out. And I think it's every film should do it, especially genre films, because I know Fried Barry and Street Trash is definitely a great movie for a crowd audience. A great audience to get involved with the movie, and watching it with a group of people is it's one of those films where it's great to watch it with people.
And and you said genre films, because not every like a drama, it's fine to watch with people, but it's like whatever. But like something that elicits a crowd reaction, that just is a much more enjoyable experience, with a bunch of people.
Yeah, and watching it. You see, what I love about you guys in the States is that you guys are very, very vocal, and I've always loved that about America, where people laugh out or shout something and stuff, and I love that, and
I love it too. Some people knock that, but I think it makes a movie going experience much more exciting.
It's very, very rare. I'm not talking about festivals. I'm talking about just like being in
like a general cinema.
It's very rare that happens. Something has to be very, very funny, and people are just laughing. But it's super rare. And I just had at the Labia Cinema here in Cape Town, I had the RIP screening with all of them. And we had like 170 people there watching this opening night screening, and it was so good. Everybody was super vocal, and I've never actually been in a cinema in South Africa that reacted like that. I've never seen it, and I've been in so many cinemas. Obviously, I go to cinema like sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and I've never actually seen people be that vocal of an audience, and it was awesome. It was really awesome and obviously because of the content as well, there's a lot of grossed out things, but people laughing and enjoying it. But yeah, it was awesome. It was really when an audience is watching your movie and you're getting the right reactions you want, and they're laughing at the right moments and stuff like that, and watching street trash in different countries at festivals, at a cinema, it's always great to see who laughs at what joke, who misses what, or you know what I mean? Like some countries might miss a certain joke or a certain thing. So it's always good to see all these things that hit that you knew would hit. And as I always say, street trash, as like Fried Barry, it's definitely not for everybody.
Sure, yeah.
But it's it's a silly humor and this and that, but it is what it's supposed to be. That's the whole thing. It's it's meant to be this 80s vibe B movie sort of film, and I think it hits those marks and ticks those boxes.
Yeah, I loved it. I love both your movies, and I'm looking forward to more stuff. And how did that so Prince Charles Theater was a bucket list for you? I think that's a great theater too. I know there's some bigger theaters, or whatever, but there's a real charm to that theater, the Prince Charles Theater.
Yeah, see, as a kid, I went there a few times and I watched stuff, and and then I've always read and I've always seen online, this director is showing his movie there, and there's a Q&A and stuff, and then you've got your name on the board outside. So they put the name on the board for me, and it was just awesome. It was definitely a bucket list and a picture that I posted up on Facebook. You've probably seen it, but it's like right outside the outside Prince Charles Cinema. So, and they've also been fighting to keep that cinema going. And that's another thing that's, I think the lease was running out and they wanted to knock it down or make it a flat block or some shit like that. And, everybody's been signing a petition. I've signed it, people have shared it. And I think it's doing a lot better than it was like a few months ago, but it's so important to keep those, those cinemas.
Because once they close, that's it. They're not going to reopen it like this, that kind of cinema. If they do, it'll be an AMC.
It's history, man. You know what I mean? It's history. I mean, I was in Rotterdam and I went to this cinema, and it was from the 70s, and it's such a stunning cinema, beautiful cinema. That the whole ticket office on the outside and the board, and then you go in and it's red carpet through the whole place. You go through, there's a bar on the side, there's a restaurant at the back, there's doors to go to the different rooms, there's stairs that go up, all red carpet goes around, and then there's all these epic old school movie posters on the wall, and it's a stunning cinema, and that's getting knocked down. I can't remember the name of the cinema right now, but it's they want to knock it down and put a block of flats there. Some guys buying the building and they're trying to keep it. And I'm just like, you look across the road and you just see like there's just a random shop or whatever the fuck it is. There's another horrible looking flat block that's old that actually needs to be took down. There's a little Chinese restaurant, and you think, why would they want to knock this fucking beautiful place down? That's history that's been there for so many years. But across the road, why can't you build it across the road?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think we got to fight for these things, because before we know it, it's just going to be there's going to be no old school history is left, and it's important.
Yeah, I have two in Boston that I go to a lot, the Brattle and Coolidge. And during the pandemic, both were in real trouble because people couldn't go there, and people donated and saved them, and they're both doing well now. But yeah, Coolidge has been there since I think the 20s or the 30s, and if that closed, I mean, there's so much history there, and nothing like that would reopen again.
Yeah, and it's the same where where I run the South African Independent Film Festival, and South African Horror Fest is also there. That cinema has been open also for like 70 years or some shit like that, maybe more. I don't know. Yeah, I think 60, 70 years. And That's my favorite place in Cape Town. I go there a few times a week, and it's literally my favorite place. It's old school, old school seats, and everything about it is awesome. And it over the years, there's been a few times where it nearly closed, and then luckily, people donated and fought for it, and more people went to the cinema and everything. And now it's doing good. It's doing really good. So yeah, that's my special place in Cape Town.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to go there someday. So RIP, that'll start up. People can see Street Trash. It's also physical release from Vinegar Syndrome, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Which Vinegar. I have a bunch of Vinegar Syndrome stuff here. Physical media, I know people say, oh, it's going away, whatever. But again, genre fans, they love to have physical media, and these companies like that and Arrow, they put out these box sets are just filled with stuff.
Yeah. We've got a lot of bonus footage and extra features and commentary, and yeah, there's a lot of the really cool stuff on there.
Yeah. And are you working on anything currently? I know RP will be coming out.
So I've got one more day left of filming. Over the last 10 months, I've shot a very art house, independent, black and white, very different than Fry Barry, very different to Street Trash. And it's starring Gary Green. And it's literally, it's about a weirdo, Gary Green. It's about a weirdo that wants to be an actor, and he's a terrible actor. But then a director, he does an audition, and he gets optioned for this role. And he's struggling with the role because he's not a good actor. But then he ends up going like method and just starts fucking killing people. So it's very different than Fry Barry, very different than Street Trash. It is this art house black and white movie. So it is what it is. I don't think it's going to do nowhere near as well as like Street Trash or Fry Barry, but I think it will do a cool festival run. And yeah, I just wanted to make something different and something creative. And black and white always looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool story. And Gary's really fucking good at it. Again, took me a fucking long time to get what I wanted. It's even more. It's very, very, very complicated compared to Fry Barry and Street Trash acting wise. What I wanted out of Gary with this, and I wanted to show Gary off more that he can do more than Fry Barry and he can do more than Street Trash. And but it's really cool. And yeah, I'm looking forward. I've got like a day left or half a day left. We started post on it, and yeah, and hopefully by the end of the year, hopefully it will be finished.
Oh, cool. Well, congratulations on that. And all your films. I'm a big fan, and I'm looking forward to more of them. And I always like talking to you. You're a good dude. So thanks for doing the show again. And you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah. Cool, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all your nice words, and thank you for having me on again, man. And also good luck with your film as well, man. I also can't wait to watch it. It must be very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited about
it. I'm sure you'll watch some drafts. I'm sure he will show you.
Yeah. I am very excited about it, and proud of it. Normally, I think, when we finished End Zone 2 Once a Future Smash, I told Michael, you can just cut me out of the movie. He's like, no, you're good in the movie. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's good, man.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, man.
Cool, man. Thanks so much.
Yep.